Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show. Now, this morning, we want to have a conversation that needs to be done, and that's on the youth and voter registration. We're seeing quite a number of young people saying that they're not going to vote because it doesn't make sense to them. There are others who say, you know what, let me get my card so that come 2017 I vote for the person who I think will be of benefit to me. So this morning we have a very big panel in studio. On my left we have students from different universities here in Kenya, and they will be of course introducing themselves as the conversation goes on. A very good morning to all of you for coming. And then of course there's Willis Raburu here on my left as well. On my right we have Honorable Kinoti Gatobu. He's a member of parliament for Buri, the youngest member of parliament in the house right now, and he was an independent candidate when he decided to vie in 2013. And then we're also joined by Mrs. Betty Sungura Nyabuto. She's the Deputy CEO of IEBC. Thank you very much for joining us. And of course Charles Odhiambo, we have seen him here. He does an Isuva review with us. And Charles, are you a young person? Are you the youth?
Young is relative.
Young is relative, huh? Okay, all right. But you're young at heart. You're young at heart. All right. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us this morning. And let's get into it. Guys, how many of you here have voter registration cards? Okay, wait. You're not. I haven't seen. I've just heard him say I do. Who else has a card?
I do.
The two of you have cards. Okay. The rest of you don't have cards. Why? Why?
Okay.
Tell us your name and where you're from.
My name is Bran Abuta.
Yes.
I'm from KU. Personally, I've registered. It's only that I don't have the card with me here.
You've registered?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so who hasn't registered?
Solomon. Yes, I guess me as a young person, I have not found relevance in registering as a voter.
You have not found relevance in registering as a voter?
Sure.
Anyone else?
My name is Maureen Kisaka from the University of Nairobi. I've not registered as a voter. And the reason that I have not registered as a voter is because I don't see any motivation that drives me into going to register as a voter. Because many of these guys we choose and they go in maybe parliament, senate, but these guys never do anything. So you prefer to just stay with your vote. If they do want to go inside, let them look for other ways, because anyway we only see them after 5 years.
All right. So for me, I've fixed 2 points there. One.
No relevance.
No relevance in being part and parcel of that process. Secondly, leaders, don't give me anything to work for. And the first question I want to give you, Miss Betty, the relevance of going to sign up as a voter once I've reached of age. What is the importance?
It's actually you're right. It's your duty as a responsible citizen. I must tell this youth here to register as a voter, because then you'll participate in elections and in determining the leadership in your ward, constituency, county, even presidency. So if you do not participate, then how do you expect to get change? So it behoves upon yourself to actively take a role in this. And what I can hear from the two of you is despair. And that's quite, I must say, it's something that we need to address. Why are you despairing? And I think you need to be in touch with the Constitution. I'm sure you're aware of it. We voted for it in 2010. And it behoves upon you to look at your rights there. If you look at Article 38, it talks about universal suffrage. It talks about your right to vote. Then it's been given life through the Elections Act. And of course we know in Kenya it's your wish, right? We don't force you as a voter to go out. But I think we just urge, especially the youth, when you look at our statistics, there are many who turned 18, right, after 2012 when we did the voter registration, yes, and have not registered yet. So I think it's actually behoving upon you to take this up. Yeah.
There's a third student who said she doesn't have, probably she has a totally different reason.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Your name and where you're from?
My name is Beatrice Odhiambo from KCA University. I've not registered, but I'm registering this weekend. Okay, one thing that discourages the youth from registering is like they don't benefit from it. They say it's of no benefit. they vote, the leaders they vote in doesn't come back to them and give them whatever they promised. That is one thing. Another thing, it is said at vote for change, while in real sense we've never seen that change. Ever since I was young, it is vote the right people, these are the right people, they'll bring change. But up to now there's no change in Kenya. The same leaders we vote are the same corrupt leaders. No. That is what really discourages the youth from voting.
Honorable Kinoti, I'd want to hear what you have to say in regard to that, because that is your department. That's your forte, you know?
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank God for this opportunity. I find a lot of joy interacting with my fellow youths, especially on this key issue of voter registration and leadership. And the biggest problem we have is despair amongst the youth. And the youth thinking there's nothing they can do to change this country. And I find this completely wrong, because out of my personal experience, I've come to learn that change begins with you. Ever since I was a student, ever since I was a young leader, I've found that change begins with you. I came in as an independent candidate. It was the first time in the history of Kenya when a person was elected without a political party. And I came in, I was just 26. And it was just the urge among the young people that we need to see a difference in our country, in our constituency. Now, the problem we have is that so many young people in this country believe there's nothing they can do. But today I want to say with the strongest words possible, the young people of this country, you can do a lot to change your country. You don't have to depend on anyone else. Change is about you. And I've seen it not just as a member of parliament. I was at the University of Nairobi, and one of my classmates was from Molo, and her name was Mary. So when I was in second year, that was 2008, she approached us and told us they had been evicted from their land in 1992, again 1997 and 2002. And it had happened again in 2007. Many of their relatives had been thrown out of their homes, and they were camping at Kikuyu, at a primary school called Kemuri, as at the Lower Kabete campus of the University of Nairobi. And so she pleaded with us, why don't we go there as volunteer teachers and help them make a difference, so that the Class 8 pupils among the IDPs can be ready to prepare for the KCPE exam. And the first thought we had was, what do we do? We are 30 kilometers away from the IDPs. What can we do as students to change the life of these young people? But we said, the little that we can sacrifice, we'll do it. So we used to sacrifice our own resources and travel to Kikuyu every day to hold lessons with those IDPs. And we were astonished at their performance in the KCPE. At the end of it all. At the end of it all. And the same thing kept burning in me, that whatever I was doing at the University of Nairobi, I wished to go back to the village and do it. My constituency was the worst performer in Meru County, number 9 out of the 9 constituencies in Meru County, it was number 9. So I made a promise upon myself that if God helps me after my graduation, I'll go back to the village and change the academic performance in my constituency. I had nothing to offer, it's just the brains and the effort. And every day I used to wake up at 3 in the morning, begin with the morning prayers, and go to the first lesson at 4 in the morning at Kibiricha Boys. And that made the whole difference. The school had never scored an A since it was started in 1967. That's when they scored their first A, when I was a volunteer teacher there. And out of my own effort in the village and the passion to see that change begins with me, I was able to revolutionize the performance of academics in my constituency. And as a member of parliament, when I came in as an independent candidate, I asked myself, here I am as an independent candidate, I have no friend in parliament, I was not in any party nominations.
I didn't have any connections.
I didn't have any connections. So I used to ask myself, how will I change this constituency? It's the largest constituency in Meru County. And as a young leader, I almost gave up. But I kept fighting on, and we've seen a lot of change. In just 3 years, Boria has risen from a KCPE miniscore of 234 to a miniscore of 251. We've been the most improved constituency in Meru County for 2 years running. We've been able to maram over 100 kilometers of road through the CDF, through the Kenya Roads Authority, through the Kenya Wildlife Service. I keep sending proposals to various organizations, and you see a difference. Right now we're in the tendering process of the longest tarmac road in Meru, which is called the Kisima Ruiri Road. It came in when the president came to my wedding in Boda, that was 2014. I never thought I would invite a president to my wedding and he can't. But I dared to do it because I believed change begins with me, and I'm not just a fish in a big ocean that cannot make a difference. So the president came and made the promise that he would tarmac the road right now in the tendering process. And so my strong message to the young people of Kenya is, you can be the change, starting with your vote. We never thought our votes would count and bring in a member of parliament. Even when in our campaign team, my campaign chairman was just 33 years old. We are all youth just hovering in the wilderness, and we made it happen. So it's the young people of Kenya, including the ones we have in the studio today. Your vote can make all the difference. Just believe that you can be the difference you want to be in political leadership, in all the evils you see in the village and all the things you want to change in your village, in your family, in your lifestyle. You can be that change you want to see in your life.
All right, guys, who wakes up at 3 a.m. here?
Nobody.
Want a movie? Who actually wakes up at 3 a.m.?
Wake up at 3 a.m. to go out and do something. Mr. Njao,
Thanks, but it doesn't qualify.
Yeah, it doesn't qualify. Charles, you interact a lot with the young people.
Yes.
What do you think is the biggest challenge when it comes to the youth believing in the leadership, one? Two, the youth believing in change, as Honorable Kinotia said here, that if you want to see change, it has to come from you. What do you think are the challenges when it comes to these issues?
I think the disconnect is, from what Mheshimiwa is saying and from what the young people are saying, the disconnect is in the management of expectations. I want to believe when they say I don't see relevance, I'm not motivated. They have such huge expectations. But then when you hear what Mheshimiwa says, it's the small things you do that make the whole difference. And clearly, for him to have been a Mheshimiwa, he must have registered as a voter, first and foremost. So if you want to bring the kind of change you want, the kind of expectations you want, it has to start with you. But again, I understand them. I was having a discourse with one of the students at Daystar University the other day, and he provided a totally different approach to the whole thing, which maybe Betty and IEBC can take up. His question was, why do I have to be motivated by politicians? Why make all the noise when the voter registration process is on? If you think it's a cardinal responsibility, if you feel it's my right, you give me a certificate when I leave Form 4, why don't you give me a voter's card and an ID at the same time, so that I internalize and put it to good use, the same way I would internalize my possession of my school leaving certificate and put it to good use. They feel the whole process now is being done to serve the interests of particular people.
It only makes sense when the election is about to
Exactly, and you look at the people making noise so that people register, they are politicians with stakes.
And then maybe to mention something, Kirigo, another challenge we have with young people, including myself, is to expect personal gain from politicians. That may never happen.
Well,
I remember the first time I published I do a lot of writing, and I published my first novel when I was in first year. It was set on Wheels Within Wheels. Actually, it ranked as a bestseller in the nation for 5 times. And when I was in the publishing process, it was deep within me that the only person who can assist me publish this book is an influential person, a politician somewhere, my member of parliament, the ministers I knew, and I kept looking for their phone numbers. I had friends at KU who were student leaders and other places, and I kept asking them for phone numbers of the leading politicians I knew so they can assist me publish my writings. But I came to discover it may be almost impossible to get personal gains from a politician. Just try to reap from the systems that we live. For instance, in my constituency, because the bursary process was a very opaque program, no youth knew how the bursaries were located. So what we decided, out of the 22 locations we have in Bori, the 20 million we give from the CDF as bursaries, we give $1 million to each location. And every location forms a committee made up of the chief, the assistant chiefs, all the church leaders in that location, all the head teachers and principals in that location, and they have a day of sitting from 8 to 5, and every student or parent who want to benefit from the bursary goes to that committee and requests to get bursary. So the students in Bori, thousands of them don't have to look for the member of parliament to get bursary.
There are structures that have been put in place to see that the money that has been allocated to the particular constituency is put in good use.
Yeah, so I urge the youth, don't expect, for you to find sense in your vote, don't expect personal gain from the
I will come back to that, but I want Ms. Betty to respond to what Charles has brought up, the issue of the IEBC is only coming out for right in time for the elections. So it looks like it's, all political. It's a game to get politicians' numbers.
So citizens are a wheel in the cog.
Yes. It's like,
the process.
Let me just place that in perspective. The Constitution behoves upon the IEBC to continuously register voters. If you look at Article 88, Sub-Article 4A, it's our mandate. So after the 2013 general election, there has been continuous voter registration, but at constituency level, I must say. So if each of you went to your constituency offices, you'd find the BVR machine, you'd find our constituency elections coordinator, okay, and you'd be registered. All right. We're only able to do it at constituency level because of the resources that we had at the time. And right now, what we're doing, still within continuous voter registration, is now a hyped up sort of registration drive. Okay. Now we are cascading it to the ward level, unlike what we had at constituency level. Okay. And this is still part of our mandate. So it's not any campaign because of politicians. It's unfortunate if it's read that way, but you see, as an independent commission, a constitutional commission, we have that responsibility. Okay. Now the only thing is that registration, and Mheshimiwa can here allude to it, for him to have been in office, and he is in office, it's about numbers. Yeah. I'm sure in your university you have elective positions, do you? Right? You can imagine if none of you turned up during that election, and maybe you told many other friends of yours do not, would your candidate whom you desire to have in office be elected? All right? So that's the reasoning you need to have with yourself.
All right, and of course I want to go back to a few, like most of the reasons that people give, and as Ms. Butchers has pointed out, is that you guys are in despair, and she said that you keep getting the same results, the same corrupt leaders. We've heard from the Mheshimiwa here. Don't you think you're being a bit unfair by clamping everybody as corrupt and therefore not voting, knowing that your vote could be there? What if the person you want to choose wins by just one vote and it is your vote?
Yours that's in the pocket.
Oh no, let me respond to you. But before I respond to you, I would like to ask the Mheshimiwa a question. In the parliament, do you have like a process on which each and every constituency have the right process to follow to get this bursary? Because the reason why I'm asking this is because from my constituency, a constituency where I come from, you will have to support the member of parliament for you to benefit from this bursary. If you oppose him, you won't be given this bursary. No, that is a question that maybe I know you are in a position to answer. No, to you, Willis. The reason why it is sometimes a challenge to vote these people, the same constituency where I come from, there is always a rigging. We witnessed it in 2013. The election were rigged, and the same MP is still in the office up to now. And if you go to him with any problem, it's not even if it is a genuine problem, you will have to be a sycophant, for him to give you a helping hand, of which to me discourages the youth from voting. Like someone like me, I would have that urge to vote, but considering the fact that it may be rigged, or the person, even if I vote against him, somebody, a sycophant, will come in and vote for him, and then he will still be there. And because I opposed him in the just concluded election, I'll not be benefiting from him. Yeah. So these are some of the things, and these I think where the corruption comes in.
Okay. We'll come to that as well.
Willis asked if why we think.
Wait, so you have registered to vote?
Yeah, I've registered to vote, and I'll give reason why I've registered to vote. It's because we also see these evils. It's not only Bitsis and Modin who see these evils, but I personally believe that this country needs my new energy. It needs me. The change can start with me, just the way Mheshimiwa said. I'm needed. I cannot just sit and see evil happening, and I know I have power to do it. Yeah, the Constitution says in Article 33. It talks about the freedom of expression. I can express myself, I can talk, I can shout, and I can only shout if I have that card. Yeah, I can only shout, I can only tell others that we need change if I have the card, and I mobilize my fellow youth to also to have the card, and then we bring the change. I want to keep on trying. I know the generation that follows me, my children and grandchildren, if I despair now, if I give up now and say that it's done, it's evil, it's what will become of them? Will they all commit suicide? I should make ground for them. I should start for them so that maybe they finish. I believe in doing and redoing till I make it.
Can you just allow me to comment something about what the lady has contributed?
On the rigging.
No, the lady.
The lady. Yeah, you've spoken about the bursary. The bursary, and I'm happy, Mheshimiwa, you're here.
Yeah.
It's a facility that's supposed to be for all constituents.
Regardless of who
regardless.
you vote for.
And I just wanted to allay your fear. And that's why now this calls upon civic education. I must say, a lot of civic education is necessary because your ballot is a secret ballot. Even if you told me, please, when you go into the booth at the polling station, vote for me, he would never know. Not even the IBC knows who voted for who. It's a secret ballot. So therefore, to be disenfranchised or discriminated or not, acquire the bursary because you did not vote for me or not, I think, Mheshimiwa, perhaps it's something in the political leadership that needs to be addressed.
True.
But I think on your part, just know your ballot is a secret ballot. It's your right to vote for whomever you desire to vote for.
Betty, she mentioned something about rigging.
Rigging, yes.
I don't know if you'd want to respond to it.
You see, rigging.
It's an allegation. It's a fear that engulfs so many people and makes them shy away from voting. Actually, the perception that
even
shy
if they vote, yeah.
And it's a very unfortunate perception, because once people believe there's rigging already, then of course they'll be discouraged. And I want to tell the youth that if you walk that path, we will never have elections in this country, in the sense there'll be very dismal numbers. Right now, if you go to registration centers, very few people are turning up to register. And I hope through this medium we are able to encourage people to turn out and register. Now, the issue of rigging, I must say that during voting, there are very many processes. Once the vote stops, the polling stops, the counting begins. And it is at that point that you have agents, like for example, candidates have their agents, we have observers, we have various people in a polling station who witness what is being counted, the vote count. And thereafter it's transmitted, so you're able to follow and say, I was in this particular polling station and I know this was the vote count. You can follow it through. And for the IBC, for the 2013 general election, we even have a compendium. If you look at our website, you'll see the entire raft of results for elections. So rigging, of course, I'm sure you hear about it even in your universities. People say already so-and-so is going to rig. It's really a very exciting conversation to listen to. But I think still fall back into your responsibility and your right as a citizen and exercise your mandate. Yeah.
Right, so just as a reminder of viewers, you can keep talking to us, and the hashtag is Power Breakfast. The hashtag to use on Twitter is Power Breakfast, and the SMS number is 22422. We'll be taking some of the questions and your views on the same. Abuta, yes? You wanted to say something?
Okay, I wanted to say this. I can't invest my resources or my time in something where I don't have stake in. And that is the feeling that a lot of
What do you mean you don't have stake?
Something where if you invest your resources in something, it means there are some returns you expect, isn't it? So if I register, I'm going to vote, but out of that whole process I don't see any positive income. And I'm happy the Buri MP has highlighted some of the things that as a young person he's done. But I want to say he's only been able to do that because he's not in a political party. Otherwise, if he was in any political party where we want to invest our stake in, he couldn't have done that, because
do you agree?
There is a lot of patronage
Not really.
in the Kenyan political parties.
I believe.
Okay, hold on, just for a minute, because and the feeling is widespread across the public, and even IBC can attest to that. There is a lot of patronage. That is why you can see, if for instance the president, I'm not, but for instance, I will only
Please hold the mic.
campaign for somebody who is in my party, isn't it? Not because that person is the right person, but because I just want to make my party stronger. And you can see that from the national leaders. It's something which is going on. We can't deny that. So with that, we know whether I invest this resource there or not, the patronage, the political patronage will just have its way. So it will be insignificant for me to do that.
So on the flip side, would you want to benefit from a process you never invested in?
Okay, well, coming to that, I will say this. The youth do not recognize that fact because they're not willing to undergo pain or any other inconvenience for them to gain. They more or less want things to come their way on a silver platter. That is why they're not doing anything to do that. That is the other side of the youth. But on the other side, there is this frustration that comes in. But even in times of frustration, there is something you have to do, because you can't allow somebody to frustrate you for a lifetime. So that you say you're going to be the leaders of tomorrow, and then your children come tomorrow, your grandchildren like that. You have to invest something, you have to put some effort, you have to be ready to undergo some pain.
I want to hear from Eve.
Okay, thank you for the chance. Okay, I would say personally I've registered because I feel like it's my responsibility to choose the leader that you want, and again it's my constitutional right. Again, it's a way of showing patriotism. Now, how will you say that you are Kenyan if you don't even participate in the elections? I mean, you want leaders that will give you what you want. You keep complaining about the past as if we can take it back. We cannot do that. So I think we should just register and vote, because the person you're going to vote is your secret. So I don't think really they will know that you voted them or not.
And you didn't vote. Okay, and I'll read an SMS, in regard to what she's saying here. Have those who have not registered applied for bursaries? Do they belong to Kenya? Who are their leaders? What do they have to offer to Kenya as educated youth?
Okay, and then I have another question for Betty. I have a concern actually. Could we just have okay, you've already talked about the registration being continuous in constitution level, in a constituency level actually. So I'm wondering, when is it going to be at the ward levels? And then again, can we have a system whereby people even in Nairobi can register wherever they want to register? Like if they want to register back at home, can we have a system like that?
Okay, let me very quickly address what you've asked, and I'm happy you have. Like I said, we've been having constituency-based registration, and right now, from 15th of February to 15th of March, we've been having now what we call the mass voter registration. It's countrywide at ward level. So for example, if you want to register in Ngara ward in Nairobi, you will go there, present your ID or your valid passport, and you have your details taken, your biometrics, your facial, and we'll take in your other details, gender, age, and all that, and have your details in the principal register. Okay, so it's actually for you to choose where you want to register. Transfer, again, you can transfer. For example, once you've registered, say at Ngara ward, and come December, you want to transfer to another ward, say in Bori, you can go to Bori, that ward. Could you give me maybe one word in your constituency?
Timau.
Timau. You can go to Timau ward and say, here I am, I want to now register here. I want my details transferred here from Ngara ward to this ward, and come 2017 I want to vote from this station. So it's actually a right given to you. It's in law that you can transfer your vote and you can register where you wish to vote.
A follow-up question. Sorry, just a minute. Is it also possible to transfer your registration polling station, your voter polling station, from a ward to another ward within the same constituency? It's an issue that has come up several times, and people say they have gone to transfer from one ward to another, or one polling station to another polling station within the same ward, but they are turned away.
Oh no, that's unfortunate. And when we receive such cases, of course, we do intervene and mitigate. You can vote at your station of choice. So
it's at my convenience?
It's at your convenience. Even within the ward, you can decide to go, say, to City Primary School as opposed to Jamhuri High School. Yeah, and give your details there and have your registration taken into
I have a question on that. My question is, can the IBC have like a plan or rather a process of which Kenyans can register as voters anywhere? Then when that time comes for elections, then you can, so long as you are registered, you can vote anywhere. The reason why I'm asking this is because there are some inconveniences. Maybe like we are going for elections next year on 8th, then maybe something comes up on 6th. You have to travel home on the same day, and maybe you'll have to come back to Nairobi on 9th, and you'd been registered in Nairobi. Now, can the IBC have the process whereby once you are registered, you can vote anywhere within the country? Not necessarily. It is not a must that you must vote where you register. Can the IBC have such a process?
Well, I think just to answer you, for the credibility of the process and also for convenience and for, voting is a very sensitive, the entire electoral process is a very sensitive and very widely watched process. Okay, we've had cases in the past where, I mean, maybe other elections, other countries you've had where people who did not even register voted. All right, people voted twice, thrice, and so on and so forth. And that's the reason why right now we are applying the biometric voter register. So when you go to a designated station of your choice, your biometrics are taken and locked within that station. So come voting, you will appear at that station. Unfortunately, if you cannot make it for one or the other reason, you will not vote. So it's also your patriotic duty, like you said, to take it upon yourself, make that effort, sacrifice, show up at the station and vote. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Honorable. The other issue that that was raised was on the issue of don't have a stake in the leadership. And one thing I wish to raise is that the leadership we want in this country doesn't end at the ballot box. So the young people must understand that. For instance, in January we were on recess from December, and January just resumed in Parliament in February. And I spent my January holding public meetings in all the locations and people giving their priority projects in every location. I've done the same thing in December 2013. But what surprises me in these forums is that very few youths turn up in the forums. So, because after they've listed all the projects they want, they vote for what should be their priority number one, and that will make our development map for the remaining 2 years. But now when youths don't turn up in these meetings, then they won't have the time to speak their mind. And I anticipated this, so in December 22nd, 2015, I held a youth AGM in my constituency, whereby we invited all the youths in Bore to come and speak their mind on what they want. And we even provided free transport, courtesy of our investment group we have called Youngster, which had made very good profits the previous year, so they said they sponsor the forum. But then the youths, especially universities, who came were very few. The youths who were mainly there were the young people who have passion for the constituency they want, but especially the youth elites who should be coming to contribute the knowledge they have in development of the constituency, they don't come. So something I want to urge the youth is that the change you want doesn't end at the ballot box. You must pursue the leadership to see the change you want. You can even send petitions to Parliament. The current constitution is very kind. It allows anyone to petition Parliament. If you feel your constituency leadership is not being fair to you in allocation of bursaries, you can seek redress from the County Director of Education. You can seek redress from any other top leadership. If you don't find a solution, the constitution allows you to petition Parliament on any issue. Squatters from my village petitioned Parliament on a land they thought they should be given, which was held by the Ministry of Livestock. And according to the constitution, the lands committee in Parliament was told within 60 days they must go to my own village, which is Konsoboiga, and hear the case of the squatters and see whether they can be given the land, and that had to be done. So as young people can petition Parliament, there are so many avenues to correct the wrong you want. And if you feel you must correct it at the ballot by voting out the wrong leaders that you don't like, if it doesn't happen in the current election, don't give up. There was a very wrong thinking we had in high school, whereby we used to challenge each other and say graph imechorwa. Kama babu yako alikuwa hasla, kama babako alikuwa hasla, na wewe sasa unang'ang'ana na masomo, hakuna kitu unaweza badilisha. Graph imechorwa, utakuwa tu hasla. So I want to erase this thinking amongst the youth. Hakuna graph imechorwa. Usiseme hata ukivote wale viongozi utaki watu wataingia. your vote can make the difference. So even if you don't succeed in this election, still take the vote. Try it next election. If you don't succeed, try the next elections. And somewhere along the way, the change you want will come.
Felix, I know you want to look at feedback, but then I just want to ask you something, Mheshimiwa. Do you think the youth now want to be spoon-fed? Do you think they want to be given everything on a single, on a silver platter?
Like you said.
Like you said.
Maybe just before Mheshimiwa answers, could I quickly add my voice to that? I think the youth, there was a question you asked. Who wakes up at 3 a.m.?
Okay.
I didn't see.
Only
what time you sleep?
No, I think.
It all depends what time you sleep. Someone sleep at 1.
Okay, that's it.
I think one of the things the youth need to appreciate is that hard work is inevitable. I'm sure back in your mind you're saying, no, but we see some people who are reaping off, who did not harvest yet they're sowing, who did not sow yet they're harvesting, whichever, And I think I want to just persuade you that there is never ever any regret with hard work. Number 2, I want you to understand the principles of democracy. Mheshimiwa and I could be vying for certain position, okay? And you want Mheshimiwa to be your leader. But come the polling, after the vote count, I take the position. It doesn't mean you despair. It's about winners and losers. So we must accept gracefully defeat and the winning, all right? And then, like you said, please just take interest in your leadership at constituency, even ward level and county level. Monitor the budget, monitor the developments being put in place. You really have a lot of power through the constitution as a youth. The only thing I can say finally, Kerigo, regarding that issue, is the youth. Do you take time to read? Not for exams. Because many of the questions I hear from you, you do not even know your constitution very well.
But you see, our problem is not in reading. We read, probably me, I read because I'm in the university, or a few of us. But what about those youths in the village? Those guys who voted in the constitution because they were told it's good. Do you conduct civic education? Because you see, even the whole registration process, it has turned to be a very political process, and a tribal process in that case. Because guys that are now going back to their village, we have to protect our throne, we have to protect everything. You see, so to me, there's someone who has a question, if we are really in touch with whatever we are saying. But to me, I appreciate the good leadership. I don't want to bag them all into one basket. Honorable Gatovu is a good guy. Honorable Maura and all these other young people, they are young leaders who have a vision. There are people who can listen to you. But we are tired of speaking to guys and people listening to our views, and then the exact opposite is done. You get? So the thing is, it's not that we have lost. We are in despair. But I can say you have lost faith in the kind of leadership that
brought up very, very crucial point, the issue of civic education, the issue of young people in the village. Us in Nairobi kind of have an understanding. Us at university level kind of have an understanding of what exactly needs to be done. But then there's my cousin, there's my uncle, there's my auntie who falls under the youth bracket back in the village, does not understand this process entirely. Have you been able to conduct civic education at that level?
I want to give you
is we conduct voter education. Voter education is about knowing your rights, why you need to vote, what it takes for you to register as a voter, and come voting, what positions do you have, what elective positions are there. So we conduct voter education. Now, civic education is far broader. It talks about the Bill of Rights. Civic education talks about matters even finance. It talks about broader issues in the Constitution. And that's why I was asking the question again, do you take time to read the Constitution? To understand your rights? And again, besides that, when, for example, you have Mheshimiwa here and he has CDF, do you know that you have a right to basically go and inspect the accounts of CDF? And know his expenditure, and know whether he's telling us the truth about the, of course I believe you are, about the 100-kilometer road that he has actually done at his constituency, and the many good things he's talked about. So, one other thing I must say is that the issue of engagement. The youth, when they're called for meetings, you don't really bother attending. You're like, those are just politicians. No, attend, listen, interrogate, and make a decision.
And the rights have to be exercised in a responsible way. You can't mobilize a group of youth and go to Mheshimiwa's office and start shouting, we want the records, we want the records.
And then there's something, Chigo, you asked on whether the youth expect to be spoon-fed. I don't think so. I think, to be frank, the environment we have in Kenya today is much harsh than it was before. For instance, I used to speak to some teachers who are graduates of Kagumo College, Kenya Science teachers and so on. And back in the 70s, immediately you graduate from a college or university, you get appointment letter to teach in a certain school. But currently, there's no career in Kenya, including medicine, where you are assured of job. So the environment is so harsh that the youth get convinced that no matter how hard they work, there are no opportunities for them. So I believe as leaders, we have a role to play in that. We are really trying. We are really trying. For instance, when I came to Parliament in 2013, the first motion I moved was to have the government have a database of the needy students who don't complete school. Because as a volunteer teacher, I discovered so many of them work hard, but they don't clear secondary school. So the motion passed. We've now been struggling to have it into as a law, as an act of Parliament. And only early this year, it came as an amendment to the Basic Education Act. And last week we passed it in the Committee of the Whole House. So one of the roles now of the County Education Board will be to develop a database of the needy bright students who don't get to complete secondary, and have measures of how these can be facilitated to complete. And then in terms of employment, my colleague Honorable Sakaja has moved to the National Employment Board bill, which has been successful, and the President has assented to it. I also moved to the Strategic Industries bill, but when it went to the Budget Committee, they recommended that it be moved back as an amendment to the SCDC Act, because the SCDC Act, they felt if it's amended enough, it can serve the same purpose. So we are struggling with it. So I believe the youths are not expecting to be spoon-fed, only that the environment has become so harsh that they lose hope. But now I'm urging them very passionately, don't lose hope. Just struggle another day. It has never been easy. My grandfather was a Mamo fighter, and I was asking them, what were they thinking when they went to the forest to fight against someone who has a gun, whereas they just had knives and so on. But they felt they had to liberate their country. So many of them died. He was arrested at Manyani for 7 years, and as young people, they felt they had to fight for their country. So the young people of this country, don't give up. I know the environment is harsh. We're struggling to change it, but keep fighting on, and we'll support you.
Okay, I wanted to talk about my brother in the village who didn't see secondary school, who cannot make it to university, maybe because of fear or one thing or another. I know a place, and that is my own place, where a leader, this is addressed to you, officer, and the Mheshimiwa, that where a leader comes and tells the youth who are not educated, that this thing I've taken.
Early in the morning.
He says, that's where in Kijalu it's called Taloikao. Leadership is taken, it's not given. So he says that I'm already there, I'm very sure I'm already there. So what I want you to vote, what I want to measure with your votes is how I'll be helping this area. If I get maybe more votes from this area, I'll help this area more than another area. And people believe it because true, he takes it. He ends up taking it. She was talking about the civic education. You know, the people there know that. Oh, Mheshimiwa, I've said this. I don't see it reaching down there. It's not reaching down there at all, because he was even talking of working hard. We know leaders who didn't work hard and they are there because of corruption or because of something. That's what I call the psychological disenfranchisation. We are different. Yeah, that's all psychological. You know that I have this vote, but it won't make difference whether I like this leader or not. So I can understand. I can understand that I can struggle. But my brother there in the village who didn't make it anywhere knows that, oh, Mheshimiwa has taken it, so there's no need going to vote and all that.
Maureen? Yeah, and when we chose these guys and they go to Parliament, how many of them go for sittings? Very few of them. For sittings. And you guys are paid for allowances. When you're in the morning, you're given an allowance. In the evening, you're given an allowance. And you also paid your salaries. Who pays the normal Mwananchi for maybe staying at home? Nobody. So, and you also look at the motions you pass. When you're passing about the increment, the increasing of your salaries, the motion goes very fast. But when you're passing about other motions, the motion is kind of slow. You don't even care or something like that.
People don't turn up.
And others go to sleep.
Yeah, others go to
so we
sleep.
wonder, did you elect you guys to go and sleep, or did you elect you to go and work for us?
I would like to pose a question to her. How would you want to change that?
Me, I've given, as in I've given up.
So let them continue their life.
I would just like to support the young lady and say to the leadership, the youth are watching. So, I mean, what she's saying is legitimate. It's frankly what she's saying. And therefore, what she's saying is, it's actually a clarion call upon leadership. When you go to parliament, can you effect change? When you're in a sitting, can you be alert, contribute? Because they're waiting to hear from you. But when you're there and you're dozing off, honestly, that's kind of impressive.
Borrow our votes, they're like angels. I'll do this, I'll do that.
I think it boils down.
And the next time I see you is after 5 years.
I think that boils down to individual leaders. Because I think some of the MPs, we must be frank, we must be fair, that they're doing a lot for this country. And what I would urge Kenya, when I became the member of parliament for Bore, and it's a message I've passed over and over again, I told the people of Meru, if there's anything, Bore, you know, Bore in the Meru language means a desert, an arid area. If there's anything this desert can export to the Meru people, is the thinking that to the young people everything is possible, including the parents. Even if you've educated your child and you feel yes, he or she has struggled a lot and he or she is not making it in life, let's say that Bore has done, because even to my own self, the fact that Bore elected someone 26 years old and very disadvantaged taught me a lesson that, you know, I was an independent candidate and I wrote on a 7-point manifesto of my own since I didn't have any party manifesto. And the 7th point was inspiration, that I was seeking to inspire the young people of Bore that it's possible. And I wish to tell also the people of Kenya, if there's anything Meru can teach the Kenyan people, is that don't look at the wave. Don't look at the propaganda, as my brother is saying, where they come and say tumechukua. Hakuna kitu tumechukuliwa.
The graph.
It's true.
No. I think if you went to the ballot, the reason I'm saying this, out of the 9 MPs we have in Meru, 1 is independent, that is me, 2 are ODM, 4 are TNA, and 4 are BAS, that is APK. Because the Meru people just look at the person. What can you do for us? What have you done for us? And what are you capable of doing? And I urge Kenyans to do the same. Let us not just go with a wave. If we feel this is the right candidate, it doesn't matter the party is in. Let's support him. And that way, and even in the nominations, if we feel this is the right candidate, let's go even out the nominations. Let's vote for him in the party we want, whether it's the Jubilee Party or any other party. Let's vote for a candidate in the party we want, and let's support them. And let's forget this thinking of atachukua hata kama sitapiga kura.
But I think it's a very important point, because Miss Betty, what Walter brought up for me is voter intimidation. Right? It's voter intimidation. There you are, you have your, you know, I know I'm going to vote for so and so. Then this guy comes and says, this one I took a long time ago. It has gone. How are you going to deal with that? Because then it also acts as a deterrent for me. If he has taken the
why should I go and vote?
You know, it's reverse psychology. You're playing with my mind. When you tell me Raburu has taken the seat, in fact he took it a very long time ago, then why am I going to stand there in line if it has already been taken?
Yeah, correct. I think, well, first I must say that it's improper. It's not right for somebody. In fact, we've had cases where I mean, we hear about this, that even at nomination level, he's been nominated on a certain ticket, I on a certain ticket, and himself, you know, in a particular ticket. Then he will go privately to his people and say, you know what, I've already taken it at nomination level. Remember, they haven't even gone into the election. All right, so, and it goes back to the issue of voter education, of course. It goes back to the issue of civic education and knowing your rights. That the only determination in an election is through the ballot.
Physical ballot.
It's through the ballot. And of course, even in this forum, we expect you to go and tell the people in your village, people in your household, church, and other social areas where you meet, that look, we need to go and line up and queue and ballot. That is how we'll create change.
And of course that is not going to change anytime soon, because it's propaganda, and propaganda is part and parcel of politics. I mean,
but again, on the issue of propaganda, I must just say again, of course, you know, we have this National Commission on, you know, integration, the Cohesion Commission, that needs to come on board and effectively take up its role on matters of hate speech, on matters of such misleading, you know, and information, propaganda, which basically disenfranchise some people So some of these bodies which are already constitutionally formed need to take up their roles. But again, you as the youth, you as an empowered youth, let me give you this responsibility. All right? Go and spread the message to your fellow colleagues that it takes upon you to go and vote. Do not believe the propaganda.
And do IEBC have any measure to control propaganda? Because I see the last election I was in Nairobi, and then somebody scared us that after elections we are really going to be beaten. Some people from other communities. So many people went home and they registered as voters in Nairobi, so that he knew that maybe his people are here, and if he scares away some people from some other regions, then he will take it easily. So people are scared. Do IEBC have any measure to control this, maybe negative propaganda?
Indeed.
And anything? What do you do about it?
Those are electoral offenses, and of course we have amended to address them. But you see, many times they don't come to the fore. For example, you witnessed that, but there wasn't any reporting anywhere. So we expect you to also be vigilant and responsible people to report these issues.
To Madam Betty, as my colleague had said, don't you think it would be better to allow people, whenever you, as long as you're registered, you can vote from anywhere? As she was said, how many votes do you think people lost in that simple threat that propaganda that was going around? Maybe the person who was to be elected didn't win, and those people really wanted that person to win. So don't you think you can do something? And also in the voting process, don't you think also we can come out? I hear the big countries like the US, they just vote with an ATM, something like an ATM.
Smart card.
Yeah, smart card. So can that be implemented in Kenya?
Okay, I can start with the last question, e-voting.
Kindly, the last question.
Okay,
and don't you think the voter registration process has turned to be chaotic? We just saw what happened yesterday in Kariobangi. And if someone was on the line going to register, do you think they will come back to come and register and pick the voter registration card? They won't. I also know of a case whereby there is a lady who finished high school last year, and she's already turned 18. And when she went to register, she was told to come with a living certificate. So I was wondering, where is the relationship between a living certificate and the voter registration card? So would you kindly check on that?
Yeah, now on the issue of e-voting, obviously we're not there yet. You have to physically be given the ballot paper where you put your mark against your candidate of choice, then cast the ballot. But e-voting basically, it's like ATM, like you said. You just, you press against your candidate of choice and it already auto counts. I'm already too much pressure. We'll have them show some time in future, because this again takes huge resources. Okay, that's on the one. Now the issue of violence, like we witnessed in Kariobangi, Mathare and other areas in Nairobi, that's unfortunate, and of course the Commission condones that in very strong terms. And what you're doing is say to the local leadership there, the OCPD, the security agencies, of course, report this and escalate it to higher levels, that this should not be allowed at all. In fact, it's an electoral offense to intimidate voters or to now spur violence during registration of voting time. Okay, so we want to urge the youth in those areas and other people who are affected by what they saw to still turn up, because the issue has already been addressed. And I think also to the political leadership not to in any way spur such situations. Yeah, of course it was unfortunate, and countrywide we've had largely peaceful registration going on.
Okay, to add on that, there's been cases where politicians are probably paying these registration guys to go even at night to register guys. They're going to churches, and they've come up by courtesy of politicians. So what happens if this guy has spent his money to make these guys register people? So this means he has already pocketed you. So what will happen during the elections when this guy has been able to manipulate the registration process such that he's taking the guys to register people at night, even in some very irregular places? Why are we allowing the politicians?
There is that concern as well that has come on SMS, where that the issue of voter registration
being sponsored
by certain individuals, certain politicians. There's also the talk of
actually, let me just read it. It's is someone from Huisero constituency. He says, hi, by breakfast. I stay next to the IEBC constituency office. It has been closed ever since the last general election. Only when an aspiring candidate sponsored the registration of persons that then the registration started almost a year ago, and then it closed again. Until this time when we have biometric registration, please, Deputy CEO, could there be any good reason and help? That is Huisero.
Okay, let me just take that up and say that registration only is not allowed in an area where we have a by-election. Like right now in Malindi and Kericho, we've ring-fenced those areas, the county, Kericho, and Malindi, the constituency. There's no registration going on, but otherwise countrywide it's supposed to be going on just like in other areas. Okay, so that's on the one.
And if it's not, then it's
yeah, I'll definitely take that up with the constituency office and find out, because that's a voter who has realized that.
But then to his question, where, you know, where there are those who have
yes, I just want to address that. You see, for the commission, what we do, I think you also need to understand the commission's mandate, where it starts and where it stops. Here I am as a registration official. I have my station, I have my biometric kit, and there's a queue of people who are intending to register. I would not know whether these people were coerced. I would not know. But so long as they're already there, they have valid documents and they register. My role is to register voters. Now, the issue of coercion is a matter that can be taken up at higher levels through people reporting. You know, that's now treating people to make them vote or maybe register. But many times, like I said again, hardly does this come to the fore. No one reports.
People suffer it and keep quiet.
They keep quiet. Then also on the issue of registration, we only allow an ID, valid ID, I mean the ID and a valid passport. Not school leaving certificates, birth certificates. Those are not valid registration documents for voter registration.
He asked something about registration venues. He said that there are people who manipulate the clerks, the registration clerks, take them to weird places to register people.
Okay. That hasn't come to our attention, but I'm sure if we do, that's not allowed, because this registration, how it goes, is we have designate centers, because it's at ward level. Yeah. And I'm sure, Mheshimiwa, you've seen posters saying from this day to this day we are at maybe Mbori Primary School, and from next week we'll be at Timau Primary School. So we have that schedule in terms of the rotation of the kit. But in terms of the kit now being taken to some places, well, we would be very happy to receive those reports and address them.
Before you ask your question, let's throw something back to you, because somebody here is saying they're writing from Kisii, and they say, well, the youth are the loudest in complaining about the leadership, and mostly for those that they vote for, and they keep voting for some radicals who have no vision, but they never report incidences. So maybe that's throwing back to you. Yeah, it's a challenge. And anybody can come to report. Like if you saw that, you can walk to the office and go and report. So yeah.
No, my first question goes to you, Madam Betty. My first question is, of late there is this worrying revelation about new ID holders getting their names already registered. We witnessed it in Madar, was it Madar or Huruma? We witnessed that, and in some places in Kenya. Now, what are the IEBC doing? What measure do you take to to correct this? Because this also discourages people. Maybe like me, I'm planning to register next weekend. Then I go home, and then someone tells, a clerk comes and tells me, you know what, your name is registered, yet I've not even voted. That is one question. Second question is, what measures do the IEBC have to ensure that the certificate, the party certificate through nomination is genuine? Because in my constituency there are some, I don't know, but some dirty games being played. One is issued with a certificate, a party certificate. Another one is issued with the party certificate. No, we don't know the one genuine.
The one that's genuine and another small.
And the one which is
okay. Miss Betty, please quickly answer that. We're coming to the end.
Those are issues that we witnessed even in the last general election, and right now, of course, we've had many review processes going on. One is to have the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties sensitize political parties in terms of how to regulate their nomination processes. Indeed, we did have cases where I appear with a nomination certificate and somebody else, and so therefore who does the IEBC nominate? I mean, take on board to be on the ballot paper. So that's an issue for the political parties, and of course the leadership is addressing that at political party level. Now on the issue of your ID number appearing in the BVR when you go to register, we've had very select cases, very few isolated cases whereby I appear to register because I'm not registered, but when I show up I find that already somebody else has a similar number. That is a matter we're also addressing with the National Registration Bureau, because it's very likely that on very scanty cases people have been issued with the same numbers. But you see, the fallback is my biometrics and yours can never be the same. Right.
All right. Thank you very much. Sorry if we have to cut this short, but it looks like it's a conversation that we need to keep having, because quite a number of questions are coming up. We're not even able to answer, you know, all the SMSs that came through social media, Twitter, Instagram. We want to say thank you to each and every one of you who has been part and parcel of this show. We are very grateful, and like we said, we will continue having this conversation because it's very, very important. And and Ms. Betty, this is for you, a final comment, because you're from IEBC and the voter registration is taking place. Your final words. You're the only one allowed to say something.
Okay, thanks very much. I think I'd like to tell the youth to urge their friends, colleagues, family, wherever you go, urge people to show up at registration centers and register. Remember, elections are about numbers. So if you do not vote, if you do not register, then how do you expect your candidates of choice?
Yes. All right, and Honorable, please, very short, please, as we come to the end.
Yeah, final word to the youth of Kenya: don't despair. Take the vote. Your vote can make the difference. And then it may not happen overnight. Even if it doesn't work in the next elections, keep pushing on, taking the votes. We have the numbers. We can build the Kenya that we want. Lastly, to the personal level, because we may elect good leaders, but if we don't rise to the occasion and take advantage of the things government is offering, like youth fund and so on, we may never get there. So my challenge to the young people: be determined and very hardworking, and you can achieve anything in life. And most importantly, love God a lot. With God and hard work, you can be the best you can be.
All right, Willis,
right, well, you have it. Of course, thank you guys for coming, and I hope at least leaning towards now going to register. At least leaning. That's so that you can go in. But again, it's very important for you to register and vote, and then go out there and choose the leader that you want. So again, thank you so much for watching the Power Breakfast show and for talking to us. I know you really sent in some of your comments on Twitter 42 and hashtag Power Breakfast. We'll take some of the concerns you have and forward them to IEBC. A lot of them have been coming, so we'll be doing that for you. But thank you guys for watching. My name is Willis Saburo, as always, reminding you that successful people look like you, and of course, the great Manchester United.
All right, we're coming to the end of this show. Many thanks for joining us on behalf of everyone who makes this show a success. Saying thank you to all of you for coming. Charles, thank you for staying behind, and we'll do this another time. Of course, there's need for this conversation to continue, to keep going. So of course we'll be having more of these as we go into the election year. But for now, I want to wish you a beautiful Tuesday. Take care, be kind to one another, don't forget to smile, and keep home. Bye.